What's up everybody? Today we're going to be talking about cassette players. I know what you're thinking, cassette players? What's that? No, hopefully most of you who have clicked on the video do already have an idea of what a cassette player is. Today I'm going to talk to you about why you would be interested in owning one in this day and age and why they're making a bit of a comeback right now. So first of all, you might have heard horror stories about how terrible cassettes sound. Some of those may be true, but for the most part, what I found from listening to cassettes is that the quality wasn't really that bad, especially for the time period that they were made. Nowadays, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to find a brand new cassette player, and there are some out there. They're just not going to have that quality and charm of the older cassette players like the Sony Walkman. I know I myself was a bit shocked when I checked out eBay for the Sony Walkman that was featured in Guardians of the Galaxy and found out that it's going for like $5,000. Not the one that was in the movie, not that exact one, but that model. To buy another one that looks exactly like it that was used back in the day when they came out, about $5,000, and that price is only going to go up as they're pretty scarce nowadays. But the good news is that cassette players in general can be found really commonly on eBay and Etsy and places like that for under $50 for a good one. Just make sure before you buy one that it says it was tested. I'm also going to put a link in the description to a good option for a brand new cassette player if you're looking for a portable cassette player but you don't want the risk of buying an old one that maybe doesn't work. They do make new ones, and I'm going to put a link to one of your best options at the moment in case you're wanting to get into cassettes. So let's get into why I bought this one. This one in particular is a Sharp cassette player. The brand is Sharp. It's not Sony. It's not Toshiba. There were a lot of brands that actually make cassette players, Panasonic, but I just liked the looks of this one. I found it on eBay. It said it was in working condition. It had a pretty good retro design, which is something that I'm really a fan of. I probably will buy the newer cassette player that I'm linking down in the description just because I would like a new one to compare the sound quality to versus one that has been around for 20 plus years. You know, obviously this thing's had some wear and tear, and you can tell, you can look at it and you can see all the scuffs and scratches and things like that. But to me, that kind of adds to the character of the cassette player. So let's just listen to some of the sounds of the buttons, which are my favorite. I just love the clickiness of those buttons. On the front of mine, you have a volume slider, which is pretty cool because I guess that adjusting the volume a lot of times would be done with like a wheel similar to this one. And it has a built-in radio, which let's be honest, I'm probably never going to listen to. Not probably, I'm just simply not going to listen to it. I never listen to the radio, not with Spotify and Pandora and YouTube Music and all of those things that are available. I just don't listen to the radio myself. The reason I wanted a cassette player was because a lot of artists are making cassettes of their music. I'm not kidding you. Taylor Swift, Selena Gomez, Billie Eilish, there's a lot of people that are putting their music onto cassette right now, and they're having a bit of a comeback. And so it's kind of the cool thing to be looking into more analog and vintage forms of media consumption, such as a record player or a cassette player. And now the cassettes for me are something that I remember a little bit about because I was born in the 90s. I grew up mostly knowing CD players. I knew cassettes and I really knew CD players. Like, I loved CD players. But for me, going back to a CD player doesn't have the same appeal as going and getting a cassette player and listening to music on it, because this to me is more of a mystery medium that I didn't have a lot of experience with. I knew it was there, I just knew it wasn't really a popular thing with my family. CDs were really the thing that I remember growing up with the most. CD players are having a bit of a comeback too, portable ones, which is cool. But for me, when I was looking at getting something portable, I just love everything about the cassette player. I don't think there's a logical reason for it, there really isn't. But if you check out, I have Guardians of the Galaxy Awesome Mix Volume 2. If you just check out like the packaging that the cassettes come in and everything, for me that's so much of it. Like the sound of the cassettes, having a tape that you just slide in and out, like for me it's a really cool experience that I guess I didn't get to have because I didn't get to live through the era where these were the big thing. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this in just to show you how easy it is to insert a cassette. That's it. Cassette is ready to go. But here's the thing, unless your cassette player has a built-in speaker, you're not gonna be listening to it out loud. You need some earbuds or you need some headphones. Good news is, cassette players work with any kind of headphones or earbuds you've got. These are some Skull Candies, and obviously not Bluetooth. Now you could put a Bluetooth receiver and actually use it through Bluetooth, which is a cool idea, but they fit perfectly. I mean, you're not gonna have an issue finding, you don't have to get like obscure headphones or equipment to use a cassette player. I even plugged this into some speakers that I had using an aux cable that I was using for my iPhone. And you know what? It worked perfect. Yeah, it's a lot more chunky and clunky than an iPhone, but it's gonna be. I really just love the nostalgia of it, even though it's nostalgia that I didn't particularly experience myself when I was a kid. Anyone who knows me knows that I just love old technology because there's something about it. The personality and the character of it is just not there in today's technology. Today's technology may be more refined and it may work better and more consistently and give you better results in terms of quality, but there's so much sacrificed in terms of the personality and the user experience when it comes to using a device like this. I mean, just look at that. You can't get anything like this nowadays. I know that I'm not alone in the fact that I really like older technology. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you are probably interested in it a little bit yourself, and that's pretty cool. But I am gonna put a link to a couple options for cassette players that you can get nowadays. They're my top options for buying a brand new cassette player at the moment, and I'm probably gonna pick one up myself just because I wanna compare it to the quality of this. This is not bad quality, but I can hear a little bit of a hiss and like a crackle in the background, and that's just because this is an older device, a much older device. And if I get a new one, obviously I'm not going to have so much of that in the background of the songs. Cassettes are a really cool thing. If you're not the type of person who wants to get into collecting vinyl or records, or maybe you don't have the space for it, or it's just not for you, maybe cassettes are for you, because I will tell you that cassettes don't take up as much space as a vinyl record. Cassette players don't take up as much space, and for the most part, you can get used cassette players on eBay and Etsy for under $50 that are vintage ones if you want the vintage look, or you can get a brand new one for a whole lot cheaper. Again, I'm putting the links to the newer ones in the description to where you can get a cassette player and start collecting yourself. It's a really cool thing to collect. It's a really fun thing. They are still making cassettes. In fact, there's a bit of a resurgence right now. So be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you think about cassette players, and if you have any good or bad memories with cassette players. Be sure to subscribe if you like older technology, film cameras, that type of cool stuff, and I'll see you guys later.